Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be cooking up some sweet honey pork chops. So as you can see, I'm going in with 1/3 cup of soy sauce. I just use LaChoy light soy sauce. You can use really whatever soy sauce you want to use. So I do know that I'm using um, solid measuring cups. All of my liquid cups were in the dishwasher, so solid is what it was. So now I'm going to go in with 1/2 cup of ketchup, which you really do need, so I would not try to go off the beating path on how much ketchup you use because it is definitely needed for the recipe. This is a sweeter recipe, and so the ketchup helps with making it a little more savory. So now I'm going in with 2 teaspoons of garlic, and I'm just going to use the Nature's Promise garlic. I do think with fresh garlic it would have been a tad bit more flavorful. However, I decided to do this on a Saturday for a Sunday dinner, and I just didn't have time to go to the store and get fresh garlic. So Nature's Promise it was, and honestly, in the end, it worked out just as good. So now I'm going to go in with my Pampered Chef mini measuring cup, and I'm going to do 1/4 cup of honey. So I know it does seem like a lot of honey, but in the end, it definitely was worth it. Like I said, it is a sweeter recipe, and so if you're not for a super sweet kind of recipe, then this may not be the recipe for you, but I felt that it was great. And my husband liked it, and that says a lot because I'm just getting now into like the adventure of cooking different things, and so we both liked it, and it was good, and it was very flavorful. So now as you can see, I just stirred together the garlic, honey, soy sauce, and ketchup. And you just want to do it until it's smooth. So I just judged it mainly off the ketchup because that's what you could see in there. And so when I didn't see any ketchup left is when I stopped stirring and moved on to the next step. So now I'm going to bring you over to my crock pot, and I'm just going to put the 4 pork chops that I just got at Hannaford into the crock pot. Typically we use thin pork chops. However, the YouTuber I got this recipe from used normal pork chops, so that's what I went with. And then I just put some salt and some pepper on the pork chops just to add a little bit more flavor on top of what we already had in the mixture. So now I'm just taking my mixture and I'm dumping it over all of the pork chops, and then I'm just making sure that the whole thing is covered because we want the pork to definitely seep in all of the juice and flavorful goodness from the soy sauce, garlic, etc. So now I'm just going to put the lid on the crock pot. I'm going to snap it on, and I'm going to cook the pork chops on low for about 4 hours. And then after the 4 hours is over, you do have to do a second step to this recipe and then cook the pork and what you've included in it for another hour. the next thing I'm going to do while the pork is cooking is I'm going to attempt to make homemade muffins. This is my first time ever trying to bake homemade muffins, but I got the recipe. I want to say it was on either All Recipes or Betty Crocker, but I'll find it and I'll make sure to link it down below. For apple cinnamon muffins. I had a good variety of apples, and I just felt that I needed to use them before they went bad. And so I'm like, you know, what the heck? Let's try to make some muffins and see how it goes. So I needed to either spray the muffin tin with Pam cooking spray, etc., or I could use muffin tins, like the papered tins. So that's the route I went. And so I'm showing you that I love my OXO containers. I got these from the Container Store. They have been a game changer. So if you've never tried them, I would highly suggest trying at least one of them. You can buy them individually or you can buy them in packs. I bought mine in packs, but that doesn't mean you have to. So now I'm going to take a cup of flour out of here. And again, remember, this is my first time making muffins, so no judging if these look awful or if I'm doing something wrong, because I'm brand new to this. So I'm going to take, like I said, it's a cup of flour and just dump it into my bowl. So as you can see, I had some flour in the dish and then realized that I needed a little bit more. So I went back in to get a little more flour so that I could have the solids part completed. Again, I will be putting the recipe in the description so you guys can see exactly what it called for. So now I'm just going to our baking cupboard and I'm gonna pull out the sugar. So again, there's my OXO containers. You guys, I cannot talk about these enough. OXO containers are amazing. So next is a cup of sugar, which I know it seems like a lot, but in the end, this ended up making, I think it was like 11 or 12 muffins. So it made a lot. So I mean, it is a lot of sugar, but then when you divide it up between that many, it's not as bad as it seems. So now I'm going to go in with our cinnamon, some salt, and some baking soda, I believe. And that's Marley. She's our golden retriever. She is 1.5-ish, a little bit older. And so she's always got to be around whenever something's going on. So next I'm just dumping in our salt. No special type of salt. We got it at, I believe, Hannaford. Now we're going to go in with baking soda. And we're going to do 2 teaspoons of baking soda. You're going to see that I throw 4 in there because this was a half a teaspoon. Again, like I said, after doing the first dish and then coming to do this, a lot of my dishes were in the dishwasher and they had already been started. So that's why I just didn't take them out and like redo them. So then I attempted to do our cinnamon, but we got these new cinnamon holders and let's just be honest, this top was not working to dump the cinnamon in with. So you're gonna see after about 2 tries, I get extremely frustrated and I rip the top off it. So just wait when it comes back around, or maybe it might be in a different video. You'll see me ripping the top off it because it's just, it was too slow. I was impatient and yeah. So next up, We're going to whisk all of these quote unquote solids together. So again, it's flour, sugar, cinnamon, baking soda, and salt. I mean, a little bit of a mess, but I mean, let's be honest, what baker doesn't make a mess? And I am for sure not a baker, so that means I can make lots of mess, right? So after your solids are all put together, I like to put all my stuff away. I don't like to have a ton of stuff out on the counter when I'm baking just because it's hard, it's in the way, and then you're like, I feel like I'm moving things around 100 times just to get them out of my way for that, what if I need a little more. So for me, I put my stuff away unless I absolutely know I need more, and if that's the case, then I will keep it out, like the cinnamon, but other than that, I put it away. So now I'm just getting out all my liquids. It called for 1 large egg, some vegetable oil, and some milk. And so you're going to see me go in with this ginormous measuring cup because, again, most of our measuring cups were in the dishwasher. So I believe it was 1/4 cup of oil that I needed, which was perfect because our oil was out. So if it needed any more, then everything else I would have done would have been a waste. So I would have had to go downtown and get it. So I'm just dumping my oil into the solid powdered stuff. Then I'm putting our milk into this oiled container. I don't remember exactly how much milk it was, but it will be linked down below. And then I'm like, okay, I'm done with this big gummy thing. 1 large egg, which honestly, my egg was not that large, but it was literally the last egg we had. So it had to do. We had to deal with what we have. And it's, what do they say? You work with what you've got, right? All right, so now I'm just taking a final look at the recipe and I'm going to whisk together everything that I've dumped in here. So at this point in the video, it was flour, sugar, cinnamon, baking soda, salt, 1 large egg, milk, and oil. And honestly, with the milk, I don't believe that the recipe specifies that it needs to be like whole milk versus half milk. So it probably could just be whatever milk you use. We used, or I used at this point, 1.5%. That's just what we had in the refrigerator. It's not what my husband likes, but I bought it because, I don't know, I liked it better. So you can see me sniff it there. Like I said, I've never cooked muffins before, but I could smell the cinnamon. So I knew that I was doing something right. In respects for what I'm supposed to be cooking here. So now I'm going to go ahead and grab my apples. It wanted me to use 2 large apples, and then I'm going to grab a knife and a cutting board so that I can slice these up. So it wanted me to dice them into somewhat small pieces. So as you can see, I'm going to put my stuff away again because I moved the bowl and I got frustrated and I don't like things being in the way. And they don't need to be. Don't mind my pants. As you can see, I'm baking. So I mean, flour and baking with flour is tough. So I'm going to, these were Pink Lady apples. They're like my favorite type of apple. If you've never tried them, you should. So I just quickly peeled these apples. It wanted me to peel them and decor them. Honestly, I wasn't going to get my entire peeler decor system out for 2 apples, so I just peeled them to the best of my abilities and continued on. So at this point, I am starting to dice up my apples and throw them into the batter. Just as I diced them, I would pick them up and kind of like sprinkle them into the batter just to make sure that I was doing what the recipe said. So some of them were like so small and some of them were kind of on the bigger side. Honestly, it didn't matter to me. It was just my husband and I that would be eating them. And so if they were a little chunkier apple-wise, then that was okay. Now I am finishing with sprinkling in the apples, and then I'm just stirring in or folding in the rest of them into the batter. I'm going to take my nifty cutting board, put it off to the side because that needs to go in the garbage. And then it's time to get out the muffin tin and start putting the batter into the tins. So this is probably the main part of the muffin ordeal that did not go right. So I did not have the butter I was supposed to have to do this. So I think, and I mean, I guess I don't know 100%, but I think this was supposed to be a crumble on top of the muffins. So then it was supposed to be like a cinnamony crumble on top. It was not at all. It was like a paste on top, and it just wasn't what it was supposed to be. I know it wasn't, but overall the muffins came out fine, so it worked out in the end. However, I do think if I had stick butter and I was to cube it, it would be better than what it was with this paste. So now I'm cleaning up my hands and gonna put the muffins in the oven. I believe they were cooking on, it was either 350 or 400. And I just slid them into the oven, baked them for 25 minutes. And when they came out, they were golden brown except for the paste on top. So now I'm going to just jump back over and check on our pork. So at this point, it had been cooking for probably like 3.5, almost like pretty close to 4 hours. As you can see, potentially, the pork was pretty much done. I'm just flopping the pork chops over to make sure that they are cooked on both sides, and making sure that they're submerged in the liquid. So now I'm just mixing up a teaspoon of water with a teaspoon of cornstarch, and then I'm going to dump it over the pork. And this is supposed to help thicken up the liquid in the pork. However, I've never used cornstarch before, and this stuff was thick. So I was very curious to see how it was going to come out in the end. It did say to kind of try to mix the cornstarch into the liquid. So that's what I'm doing here. Putting the top back on, and we're going to cook it for 1 more hour. So after I had taken the muffins out of the oven, I wanted to put them on my baker's rack to let them cool down. So as you can see, they don't look awful. There is a little bit of burntness on the edges, but I really do believe that is that paste that was on top of it. And I just think that it was like the overflow from me putting the paste on and it drizzling over or whatever. The tops were all golden brown. They looked really good. They smelled fantastic. They tasted phenomenal. I'm kind of disappointed that I didn't get like an end result look, But overall, they came out amazing. I would highly recommend you try this recipe yourself, and I will see you guys all next time. Bye, guys.